Okay, so here we are at the start of the race. I'm going to try this commentating and see how I do at it. You guys let me know if you like it or not, and we'll see if it enhances the experience. So always nervous here at the start. The butterflies are huge. I'm sure everyone's the same way. And then as soon as it gets going, those all go right away. So here I am starting out. Denny always gets that whole shot. He is the master at it. Yeah, I think they owe him some whole shot awards this year. They kind of been a little bit behind. There goes Joe. And yeah, you got to give Denny a little bit of wide berth there because he has not pre-rode this course, so he's got to get used to the sand. And then here comes Ronnie. He's looking like a pro there. He has really come along this year. He is just getting better and better, and I really think he's going to be the one to watch out for next year. So I'm in 4th place right now. I started out in 2nd, but then I took it wide. There goes Bill. He is always on it, man. He is wide open on that throttle and hitting it. He just quickly put me back into 5th. So at this point I'm going, wow, I'm in 5th place. I don't know how this race is going to pan out. So Bill took that stumble right there, and he also did not pre-ride the course, so he's got to get used to it as well. He actually goes on somewhere along here in the beginning of this first lap to split his finger wide open, and that may not sound like much, but this thing was split all along its length. The bone showing through. And yet he still managed to put it together and finish this course and finish in 3rd place, which is absolutely amazing because he was already in 1st in the overall standings. We had 2 races left, this one, the next one, and if he could muster a 3rd place on this, then he doesn't even have to show up in the next one. He's got it wrapped up. So kudos to him for showing up and doing what he needed to do, and just goes to show what a competitive beast this guy is because he did it with a really bad finger that happened shortly here in the first lap. So right there, I showed a shot, still frame of Joe, Denny, and Ronnie. You can kind of see the order. I'm in 4th place, and you can see right now that I have great visualization of the course and them. I can see them very well, and that's not always the case when we're racing. It's especially in the wooded sections. It's really tight. You can't see and so for most of the races that we do, I don't have this kind of view of everybody. And sometimes when the turns come, I can see well behind me, which is, to me, a very good advantage throughout this course. And it really helps me kind of understand where I'm at, how much I need to push, and just really makes me more comfortable knowing where everybody is. I'm always a little bit cold at the beginning of a race, meaning that I need to get a little warmed up before I start getting faster and feeling good. Right now, I'm just starting to get there. That was Michael Couch. I can see him behind me right there, and it's Oki Papa, and he has a video, or his videos are on YouTube as well, and has a really good following. But he's behind me, and I know that with these guys in front and him behind me, everybody's really bringing it today. But back to what I was saying, I'm finally starting to get warmed up, and I'm feeling good on the course, and in a little bit here, I'm really going to get into a good flow. Right there was a great example. I mean, I could just see all three of them still, and on a lot of the courses that we race, I would only be seeing Ronnie right now, and I was just assumed that Joe and Denny had been taken off, and wondering if I would ever see them again. So it's nice to be able to see, and even though they kind of look far up there, this is such a fast section that it just doesn't take long to travel that distance, so they're really not too far ahead. So I think this is a really good point to talk about the course and lines and the track, and like right there you just saw a split, and you're kind of like, well, what is that? That was the track that you probably saw just off to the left, and then a line has been made, probably by the A-Riders, because they did this course first, but there was a line there that almost looks like, hey, you're cutting that corner, but that's the thing to understand about the track. So the track is, in this frame, it's probably 8 feet wide or so, and you would think that's that path is all that you can be on. But the reality is that the course all the way around is 30 feet wide. It is a 30-foot wide track that we race on every race. Obviously, you would not go out to the sides. There's lots of limbs and rocks and things and ruts, and no telling what you're going to get into out there, so you're going to stay on this path part, but the track is always 30 foot wide, so you are allowed to stay within that range. So on a corner like that, where you see it looks like a cut, and the guys call it a line, because they're staying within that 30 feet. You got to stay within that 30 feet. You make that too much, then that's a different ballgame. It is a whole different issue at that point. But as long as you stay within that 30 feet of the markers, then you're good. Typically, if there's a choke point, then you'll have markers on both sides, and that means that is as wide as the track is. And there is one of these on the course, so we'll come to that a little bit later. And you can see that guy right there coming to pass me. I believe he started in front of me. He, which I think the sport division is in front of us. And what's interesting about him is when we come to that choke point, it's funny, he came up right there at that. And there goes a mini. The mini start behind us. Those guys are wild. But anyway, that guy I was talking about, he'll get turned 180 degrees and block off the choke point. And you can't go around that. Actually, that's not true. If you could go around it, you would be allowed to in that scenario. But the choke point does narrow the 30 feet down, and you have to go through that, except if someone is stuck there. But you'll see there's no way to go around it. It has walls on each side that are even blocked off. So You'll see we're all stuck there, but that's a little bit further on up, and you'll see kind of how that all unfolds when we get there. But the little mini guy in front of me there, I think it's the first one, but they're going to keep passing. At the beginning of the year, they, I believe, and I might be wrong on this, but I believe they started in front of us, but with us older guys, coming, and then some of them being newer into that class, and it probably was quite intimidating for them because we'd be passing them. But that is not the case as the year goes on. They get really good, and they are all about twisting that throttle, so they become really good and are passing all of us old guys. So. So I heard that Mini, I think that's a Mini, that was behind me, and he was kind of revving a little bit, and he obviously was wanting to pass, and I am definitely okay with them passing me. The only issue is that when I first started, I'm only in my second year of racing, is I used to pull over, or I would crash, trying to get out of someone's way, and it really just became something that was unnecessary. I no longer feel like I have to pull over and stop anyway. I do pull to the side, and if you're fast, you're going to pass me, and that's what I completely expect, and that's exactly what he did. But I no longer feel like I have to be rushed to get out of someone's way. If I did that, it seems like I'm more prone to crashing if I get in a rush about that. And at the same time, it starts killing my time in my race. And so I will get over and let someone pass, but I won't do it at the cost of time and safety. So you can definitely go around. I'm good with that, but it's going to be at the right time. And it's the same thing for me. I mean, like, I have Ronnie there, and if I get the opportunity to pass, I will pass it. I don't ever rev my engine. I don't yell. And being in the same class, he wouldn't even have to let me over if he didn't want to. So I don't subscribe to that. I know a lot of guys do, and they're going to disagree with me about that, and that's okay. But I'm just saying, giving my 2 cents on how I approach it, and I just for me that's what works. Another guy just passing there. They're going to just keep coming. There's guys that start this race before us. There's several rows ahead of us, and they'll lap us. And there's some guys that are really fast behind us. It just kind of happens that way. There's another Mini. I think this guy I'll see a couple times because I think he gets stuck along the way in places and he'll pass me again. So right there, I could see that Ronnie just passed Denny. So I'm still back and forth. You got Joe out in front, and who's in first. Now Ronnie's in second, and Denny's in third. Denny is, he's the whole shot master, like we talked about, but he was also the winner of our age group last year. So we've got a lot of good guys, fast guys that are in this race. In fact, I think all the top 10 were there at the start of this today. So it's going to be an interesting day, and at this point, I'm feeling good. I'm in a good flow, but I still know it's anybody's race. a good point to bring up that arrow that was on that tree. It is a prime example of what you're supposed to do. That arrow on that tree was at a 45-degree angle. And what that means is you have to go around that tree. You are not supposed to cut in front of it. Now, if you looked at it, you're going to see there was a lot of tire tracks in front of that tree. And so there's people definitely going around it, but you're not supposed to. And I obviously did not, and nor did Denny there. But that's a prime example of an arrow at 45 degrees that's telling you to go around an object. Now, I came up over that. I was out to the side. I was lateral, and Denny was on the inside. And I had to go lateral because I didn't know if he was going to get into trouble, and I definitely didn't want to get stuck on that hill. That will kill your time. But when I came up over it, the spectators are off to the right and it's marked up, and luckily they have that marked off far enough. But I'll tell you, if I had whiskey throttled at that point, that could have been a different story. And if you saw one of the spectators, a little kid that was sitting there, and he was kind of standing by himself, and I imagine his parents were there, and I can imagine their eyes got huge because I know mine would have. And so, yeah, definitely got to be careful, both riders and spectators alike on the course, because things can get out of control in a hurry. And whiskey throttles, they happen. I managed to whiskey throttle once every race, so it will happen at some point during this one, I'm sure. So at this point, we're about a mile and a half away from the finish, and we're going to be getting into that choke point here in just a little bit. And also, this is there's two sandy sections. There's one at the beginning that you'll see I'll go slow through, and then there's this section all through here. And that's just where the sand is deeper. I will take my time through this every lap. Both of those two sections you're going to see. I just take my time. I don't try to overdo it. They're not too long, but they're definitely places that I always keep thinking they're going to get me at some point. It's going to get me at some point. And it just is, you got to carry your momentum through the sand, but it's twisting and turns just enough to where it is kind of a little bit challenging to do that. So we're getting ready to come into this choke point. It's coming up right here. So that's that choke point, and there were red arrows on both sides. That means you're supposed to go through here. And because it was blocked off, you technically could have gone around, but as you saw with the way that terrain was, you couldn't. Jim Ramjar was good, but I couldn't. So, and they had tape on it too. They didn't really want you to do that. So, and that's the guy that passed me earlier. I think from the sportsman's class. And what I did not even pick up on at that time when I went through was that he was 180 degrees. I had no idea, and I have no idea how he got that way. I imagine he probably went through there and then hit that throttle and spun around, but I don't know. But luckily for him, Oki Papa, Michael Couch, is going to come through and help get him spun around. I thought he was just there and he'd crashed and he was just kind of letting everybody go by. Oki Papa really wears that name well because he does help everybody out. He noticed that he was 180 degrees and came back and got him turned around. that was Denny, who just took that little spill, and man, kudos on that roll. he did that well, and you do learn that that's what you got to do. That's how you usually can help prevent those bad springs and bones from snapping. But he was in third, and so after he did that, then I came through in third, and that was my nephew who was just sitting there. It's his work day. He's in XC3, he races in the A's, and is in a tight battle for first place. He's currently in second, but it's really close. And so he was there cheering me on. That always kind of lifts you up, makes you feel better. But yeah, I'm in third now. I've got Joe and Ronnie out in front of me, and see if we can catch up to them here in a second. So I'm seeing now that that's Joe, and he is now in second place. He was leading that first lap for most of it anyway, and Ronnie has managed to pass him at some point. It's like, wow, Ronnie is really out there nailing this course. He's doing great. I'm happy to be behind Joe at this point. Joe is a great rider. He's been riding a long time, and he is, with his experience, he is going to follow the track and see all the lines that are legal to take, and I am going to stick with him for a while. I definitely want to pass him, but I've also learned that it's very hard to pass him. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, but we're going to come into these faster sections here, and I rarely can pass him on a fast section. I usually have to hope that he makes a mistake somewhere, and then I can get around him. But there's a little line, and that's totally legit. It's within 30 feet, and he saw it. I don't always see those. In fact, you'll see later when I'm by myself that I will often not take those just because I don't see them. And that's just my lack of experience. As I get better, I hope that I can see them. But Joe has a lot of experience. He's going to see them. He's going to take them. And we're going to follow along behind him for quite a while. In fact, I'm going to be behind him this whole second lap. And hoping that I can pass him, but also just watching and learning as well. a really good flow now. I feel great. I'm not tired at all. I feel like I could keep this pace up, for quite some time. But the thing I never know is this the right pace? Is someone going to come up from behind in our class or what? But it feels good right now. I'm not winded, tired. Just feel like I can just ride this pace for the whole race, really. And for the most part, I do. Joe has set a really good pace here, and so far I'm able to keep up. So Joe just gave a look back at me. He knows I'm there, and now for sure he knows who I am, and he is definitely not going to let up anytime soon. So I want to do what I can to stay up with him here, and see if there's any point where I might be able to pass. So if you notice, Joe's style is mostly to sit, and he does very well doing that. I do not. I am better standing. However, I've gone back and forth on that. I just started racing last year. I have my nephew that races, and he stands, and so I definitely wanted, and he's good, and so I wanted to do what was best, and I started out that way and really worked on getting it last year, and as the year went on I got better and better at it. But at the beginning of this year, I was sitting mostly. I still stood, but I, it might have been close to 40-60 with me, standing 40% and sitting 60%. And I had some reinforcement in that idea because, a couple things. One, Joe and a lot of the guys in our class sit, and at least for most of it. And then I watched a video with a pro and an ex-pro, but riding these types of races, and he was sitting and kicking butt. So I'm like, well, if he can do that, then I can. I should be able to do that too. And so the whole first half of this year, I was sitting, and that was not good for me. I kind of started out well doing that, but I think those courses that I was doing that on kind of lended themselves to that type of riding style. But as they became more technical or more sandy, it did not, or more slippery at least. Some of the hard pack with that silt on top is very slippery. So I was sitting and I just started crashing, and that crashing was a couple that almost crashed right there. So, but it was a couple things. It was one that I was sitting, and you can sit. You've got to get that balance right, just as like you do when you're standing. But I balance better standing, and so I had to do that. My suspension was definitely off, and there's it's not just oh, look at that. I mean, Joe's showing some flexibility there. I mean, this Joe is, he's in his 60s. He's 10 years old. I'm 54. He's 10 years older. He's like 63, 64 at least, somewhere in there. And he's riding like a young guy there, man. That was awesome. But anyway, so the suspension, it's not about just adjusting your compression and decompression and having it right for your weight, but also like on a more sandy course like this, dropping those forks in the triple clamps so that you can add some of the stability in the deeper sand and at speed, because it's also a fast course. I have motion stability on this, so you can't always tell that this is fast. It definitely slows things down, but it is a fast course, and we are going faster than what it probably appears. But anyway, so knowing that the first half of the season, I kind of got, I started to go backwards as I started to go faster because I started crashing more. Then I had to really look at things, and I just balance better standing. In fact, the only race I won last year was a mud race, and so the mud and the sand are very slippery for what we do, and so I won that race because at that time I had been working on standing, and I got really good at it. And so knowing that and coming into this race, as well as our last two races were hilly, rocky, very technical terrain, and so it kind of forced you to stand more, at least it did for me. So that had done that, but then also knowing that we were coming into this course, which none of us had ever raced before, and knowing that it's sandy and it's probably going to have a lot of whoops, especially as it kind of gets beat in, and the A's were going to be in front of us. You got the quads in front as well, doing their thing on Saturday. So all I did for 2 weeks, leading up to this race, was go out and practice standing the entire time. So I used to only ride like 30 minutes to 45 minutes at a time, but I was riding an hour to 2 hours at a time, practicing for this race and standing all of it, at least almost all of it. And for the most part, like I'm standing right now, and if you see the shadow, you can see that I'm standing. I'll still sit some, but not as much as I used to, and it's really paid off for me. The last two races, I've just done well, and I'm doing really well in this one, and I think all that practice standing has paid off. So right now, you can see Joe is catching up to Ronnie. So we've had a pretty good pace going on here, and there's a Mini going by, and Ronnie has what appears to be slowing down. So now Joe's back in first, Ronnie's in second, and I'm in third. So I can see now that Ronnie's definitely slowed down. In fact, there he goes, being really nice and letting me around. I appreciate that. Yeah, he was slowing down, and I'm not 100% sure if this is first year racing, but I know he didn't race last year, and he started this year with us. So assuming he's newer to it, he did what I have done many times, and that is go out too fast for myself. You get out there and you're giving it your all, and you're doing great, just as he was. He was killing it. And then it all kind of starts catching up to you, because these are endurance events. This race is going to be anywhere from an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and 45. And they're supposed to be an hour and a half, but just kind of based upon when you come around on the flag. So he probably got tired, and I imagine he also got a lot of arm pump. Back in my first year, I definitely did. It did get better as the season went on, as long as I kept riding. And I'm lucky. I did have it at the beginning of this year, but then I really started riding a lot more, and was able to get past that. In fact, during this whole race, I did not get any. Oh, and that worried me a little bit there. I thought for a second I was going to get stuck on that hill. You definitely don't want to do that. But was lucky to get past right there. But yeah, right now it's Joe out front. I'm in second, and Ronnie's behind me. He may recover. I never know. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Back in my first year, once I kind of bonked, I bonked, and that kind of stayed that way. But yeah, learning to pace yourself is so key in these races, and it's hard because, like I said, you can be feeling great and feeling wonderful, and then all of a sudden it hits you, or you just take one crash and it just takes everything, that last little bit of energy that you had in store, and it's gone. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I've been in that situation a lot, and I feel like I can kind of identify with it. So we're finishing up. We're about that 1 to 1.5 mile point from the finish, and right now Joe's in first and I'm in second. So we'll kind of watch that here. We're gonna come back into that sandy section that I don't like here in a minute, but yeah, we'll just watch this for a little bit. So yeah, this is the second time this little section right through here got me. Just a little bit past that point there, and then again there. Luckily these aren't bad, and I was able to get back up quickly, and they didn't take too much out of me. But I always start worrying when I start crashing, because then I've kind of come to learn that means that I could be getting close to running out of energy. So that worries me a little bit. I still don't feel like I'm out of energy at this point, but it's in the back of my mind now. So that was a little interesting section through there. It makes like an X, and at the beginning of that X, you have two sides that you can choose from, and the arrows show you can go either way. And on that one, I kind of came in on the inside. On a lot of the later ones, I go on the outside, and honestly, it just depends upon where I'm kind of coming into it at. The thing about that is that we don't usually have that on the course, so that was an interesting difference. And I really thought it was going to be a place where there could be a lot of passing, but you'll see, I don't think I pass anyone in those sections. So there's my nephew. He's happy for me because he knows that I'm really doing well and trying to stay up with Joe. So and right now I feel good. I think I don't have any arm pump, and like I said, I don't get any throughout this race. I'm standing up. I've got plenty of energy, and you're going to see I'm going to get behind Joe again here in a minute, and then at that point I'm ready to pass him. It doesn't mean I'm going to pass him right away, but I'm like, okay, it's time. I need to do it. I kind of feel that since I have a lot of energy still, that it might be a good time to pass, because then I can maybe go faster. And this is that second sandy section I've kind of been talking about too, and this is the other one that's really sandy. And you can see he's taking his time through it, and so am I. There's no reason to rush those. You rush it, you're just gonna crash, and you don't want to be picking up the bike. That just burns energy. So we take our time through it. We'll get out of here pretty soon, and then we'll be back on it. So you can see there, I finally got to pass Joe. I'm not 100% sure if he just didn't let me by. I'm sure he got tired of me being back there. Yeah, I got past him, and now I'm in the lead. I'm in first place for the first time in this race, and honestly, I'm scared. I say that, not completely obviously, but I do have angst because I've got to set the pace now, and you've got to know what that right pace is. Too fast and you burn yourself out, and then you're gonna get past too slow, and then you're gonna get caught. And so I got Joe behind me now, but I know Bill's back there somewhere, and he's really fast. And another guy that's been fast this year is Steve Dennis. He's passed me a couple times in races, and every time that's happened, I cannot stay with him once he passes me. So he's quick. So I know he's back there. Bill's back there. Denny's won it before. He's back there. Ronnie was doing amazing. Even Michael Couch is back there somewhere, and I don't know that he stopped to help people at this point. So I'm like, man, I know I've got to keep going and keep my speed, but at the same time, I don't want to burn myself out either. So I'm kind of computing all this in my head right now. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's right. And right now this feels right. I'm in a good space. I am in a good flow. Things are coming pretty easy. I feel like I could go faster, but I'm not doing that. And so I kind of think that feels right. Where you're just under where you probably could be going faster. But this is still, I haven't been in this position, hardly at all, and so I'm nervous about the idea that I've got to come up with a pace that's going to be the right pace for the rest of the race. So there goes that mini. He passed me once before. I don't remember where I passed him, but there he is again, passing me. So you'll see that they kind of do that. They get stuck on those little portions here and there, and then they come flying by you again. It's always interesting, and just wish I could have or I guess what I'm trying to say, I wish I could be fearless like them. So I'd be so much faster, but I'd probably crash a lot. But anyway, I'm in a good groove. I'm in a good place. I'm going to just stay in this for quite a while. This is the third lap, and I am where I want to be and feeling the way I want to feel, and I'm just hoping that it stays that way. Like I've mentioned in the past, the advantage on this course is you can see, and so I can look around and have an idea, who's coming and where my position is, and right now things are looking really good, and I really like that aspect of the course. Like I said, most of our courses that it's not something you can. So one of the things they did on this course was label things. So you saw the like pool and the little area that the drinking hole for the animals, and of course they call that the watering hole. And there's a couple places that they name on the course, which is interesting. It's kind of fun too. One of them in here will be called Drake's Corner, and a couple things about that. When you go and you pre-ride a course, and you've got some of these places labeled like that, it's really easy to kind of talk about the course and understand where someone is and what they're talking about when you have those things labeled. Because otherwise, when you're talking about the oil, that turn by that one tree that looks like this, it's sometimes you understand, sometimes you don't. So I thought it was fun to have some of the names that are out on this course, and I really appreciate them doing that. So there's an example. That sign right there says Drake's Corner, and they had it labeled. And so when you're talking about the course, you can identify that area. People know what you're talking about and where you are on it. So it's kind of cool. I know there's a lot of work that goes into putting these together, so I don't expect that, but it sure is nice when they have it. So I don't know if you noticed that I slow down right here and then I speed back up, and what I'm doing is I'm putting my water in my mouth so that I can drink the water. I have a little pack on that has that in there. and I always find a place. It's kind of flat through there, not too crazy, so I always find a place during the race where I can do that. Depending on how long it is, I might just need one. Some areas I might need two places along each loop of the track. But that's mine. I've done it every time. You may not have noticed me slowing down, but I do, just enough to be able to get that in. I actually have the setup to put it in my helmet, so I don't have to do that. But it kind of rubs on the inside of my cheek or my lip, and I just don't like that. I know some guys just kind of keep it in their mouth the whole time, and I've never been comfortable with that, so I just don't. And as you saw, it doesn't take long. It works for me, and so I'm happy doing that. I noticed that some guys they don't wear or they don't bring along anyway any water at all for these, and I think that's absolutely amazing that they can get away with it. I can't. You're getting dehydrated along the way, because this is a workout, and your heart rate for these, in case no one understands, is actually, for me, it's in the 160s and sometimes 170s, kind of in that average range, and that's excluding times when I'm, almost crash, or when I got to pick up my bike, which I'm sure it's just going through the roof at that point. But it's a long workout, hour and a half workout, and your heart rate's up there the whole time, so you're going to get dehydrated. Add the sand factor, or not the sand, but the dust, and getting in your mouth and drying everything out too. It just adds to it, and it's all compounded, and so I have to have the water. Like I said, I'm amazed at other people. All right, let's just listen. I don't know if you heard me, but I'm upset with myself. and what happened there? Here I am at that point where I'm a mile and a half or so away from the finish, and that happens, and I got distracted. And what's happened is my mind has wandered, and it just does. You'll find such a long race like this, your mind can just wander to think about family, think about the race, think about all kinds of things. So I am definitely upset with myself, and if you see, I am going really slow. In fact, I am starting to fight the bike at this point, because that little bit right here, I'm fighting all that. There's no flow in that. There's no momentum in that. That's me fighting it as I go through this whole thing. And right here I am on that second sandy section, and I'm in this position, and I'm worried because this has happened at the wrong time in my mind. This is not a good part to be tired and exhausted, and it does. I just took that spill, which wasn't bad at all, but at the same time I had to pick my bike up and try to regain my momentum, and like I said before, you don't know for sure that you're going to, so I'm worried. I don't know how this is going to work. I had a great lead, and now I don't know if that's going to be something I can maintain. All I know is I really want to get back into my groove, and so I'm going to struggle here for a little bit longer, but thank God I eventually get back into that groove, and then I don't struggle anymore for the rest of the race. So I'm struggling right now. It'll continue for a little bit, but then that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad he let me by. I didn't mean to come up on him like that. Like I said, I'm struggling right now, and so you'll see I'm going to come around this corner all wobbly. I'm still trying to regain my composure after that little spill, and wasn't anything, but it zaps your energy, and so I am desperately hoping I can regain my flow back, and I do. Luckily, I do, and like I said, I have it the rest of the race, and I really don't have any issues. That was the last spill that I take, and I don't take any more, and it all really goes nice for the rest of the race. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't expecting that. I'd come through there 2 times already. That was the third time through, and that didn't happen in the other times. I didn't feel like I was doing anything different, but it hit pretty hard. I didn't like that. So I'm at first. I'm coming through right now. I see there's a little display there that tells you your position. So I see I'm in first. I kind of knew that anyway. But yeah, on these races, there's limbs that I'm going to hit my head on a couple times a race. Sometimes I usually try to learn them and not do them repetitively, and I don't do that here. But I don't like hitting my head, and it's amazing. That one really surprised me because I hadn't the 2 times prior. But when I look at the video, I can see that branch doesn't actually come straight across the path at a 90 degree. It actually comes about 45 degrees. So it looks like it's at 90, but it's not. It trails back. And so I think I just popped up a little too soon, but it was a pretty solid knot. So now I'm on this, what is it, I'm on my 4th lap. And so this is the 4th lap, and I am in the lead. I'm going through this section, which I'm going to take easy. And as soon as I get out of it, I'm going to be back in my flow. And it's a great feeling to be in that. And like I said, I'm going to maintain it for really the rest of the race. And I can tell you now, that's 2 more laps. It's this lap and another, so it's 5 altogether. But I can tell you at this point, I was really, really hoping that it would only be 1 more lap. And I did not really think from a timing perspective that I was going to actually get to it. 2 more in here. And so we'll watch how this goes. Honestly, if you've seen the course, if you didn't want to watch from this point on, I would completely understand. It could be kind of monotonous at this point. But there's a couple things, I'll bring them up as they come along, and we'll talk about them. But it's just going to be me and not much else going on. There's not a whole lot of other people going to come up into the picture here at this point. So as you see there, that's the first time that I've actually come down through that in that way, because there's a line, and all the other times I've been following the people in front of me, and they always took the line, so did I. But I like I was telling you before, my lack of experience on these is I don't see them. I know that it was there. I've taken it before, following Joe and the other guys, but I. Left to my own devices, I don't see it. It's not something that readily stands out to me. And so I think with experience, hopefully I can continue to do better and better at seeing those. So I'm looking around, and I'm not seeing anybody. There's definitely no one right on my tail from our group. So I'm feeling really confident at this point. I'm like, wow. I think my feeling is I just got to keep this pace going, and hopefully things will work out. I still never know. I mean, I'll always, you're always going to have a little bit of angst just because you don't know who might be, feeling really good and coming up from behind. But I don't see anyone. In fact, it's almost kind of eerie because There's no one anywhere in sight right now, and it's kind of like, is this race still going? Now, so this spot right here has happened a couple times. You can't tell. Again, this has that motion stabilization on, so you can't tell. But I was sliding out with my rear tire that whole time, just so I could slow down enough to where I could finally give it the gas to go around that tree. You just come around that park so fast that you can't tell that that's coming up on you like that. So what I was doing there is I was looking at my watch. I keep a watch up on the handlebar so that I have an idea, roughly where, the ending time will be. Again, you don't know for sure, because based upon the length of the course and where you're coming at across the finish line there. And you're doing multiple laps, you don't always know, but you kind of get an idea timing-wise as to how long each lap's taking and what it might be cut off. And I'm looking at it there and I'm going, it's iffy. I could see this being the last lap, but depending upon when I hit that crumb cross, I could also see it maybe needing to do one more lap. I didn't know at this time that I was going to have to do one more lap, but I was looking at that and I was kind of going, it's definitely possible. I was praying that it wouldn't, because you are getting more tired as you go. Although I was feeling pretty good overall, but you are getting tired. You just, like I said, you're always afraid of when you're going to balk.
Stop thinking about that.
Yeah, there again, my mind was just wandering and thinking about whatever. I have no idea right now what I was thinking about at the time, but it was definitely wandering, and that's when you get in trouble. And so I was getting on to myself. So you keep focused, keep this pace, keep going, and try to snap myself back into the race. guess one of the things I can talk about is my choice of bike currently. I'm on a 4-stroke. It's a 350. It's a gas 350 EX. And I switched to the 4-stroke for the second half of the season. Our seasons always have a summer break. And so last year, being my first year, I started out with a 125 XC. And I did that on purpose. My thought process, just kind of getting into this is that, one, I didn't know that I was going to get so heavily into it. But two was that it'd be a fun bike to have, to go every bit as fast as I ever needed to go. And it's very light, so I can pick it up and move it around. So I started out with that and did really well. In fact, one of the races I won last year, well, the only one I won last year, was on that, is at that mud race, and I've been riding that bike quite a bit. I was really happy with it. In fact, I rode it enough to where I needed to do a top end, and when I did the top end, I switched it over to a 150, and really had it working sweet. It was carbureted, and I learned a lot about tuning from one of my friends, John Hopper. Anyway, so I was really thankful because he helped me get that bike squared away. Anyway, I was doing good with that bike. I didn't even put a recluse on it, so I had a recluse, for that mud race that really helped out. But after a while, and I started kind of getting a little more competitive, I was like, there was a race, and it had a lot of straights, a lot of flat straights in it, and I couldn't keep up with some of the people. It did well. It did really, really well, but I couldn't keep up with some of the people. I thought, well, this isn't going to be competitive. In fact, Preston was the one that kind of made me realize that indirectly, because every time that he would pass me, or I would come close to seeing him, he would just take off. And so I was like, this isn't going to work. So I went and moved up to a 250. And then I went and moved up to a 300. But I came back down to a 250 because it seemed to be the one thing to fit me best. I liked the power and just the overall feel of it, and so that's what I had. And interesting. You might say, well, that's a lot of bikes you went through just in a short period of time for a beginner, and I did. And I had the advantage to that at that time is that it was not too long post COVID. It was in COVID still, but everything was selling if it was an outdoors kind of thing, and so motorcycles just were selling easily. So I could get a bike, I could ride it, buy it used is what I was doing, and then ride it, turn around and sell it, and really not have much of a loss. There was always a loss, but it wasn't much. So it was a wonderful time to be able to try a whole bunch of different bikes. So I did. So I settled at the 250. It just really fit me right. I put a recluse on it, and really did a lot of racing with that. But then, like I was telling you before, I started crashing, because I started that in the second season, sitting. We kind of talked about that already, but then I kind of started crashing, and I was like, well, I need to get back to standing. And so I'm looking at getting back to standing, but one of the things with my lack of experience is being able to stand and hit that rear brake in a timely fashion. So like my nephew, he's really good. And he can stand the whole way. He can hit that rear brake while standing and just slide around corners. It looks awesome. I'm so jealous. Wish I could do that. But I just couldn't. I can't do it. And so there was always this delay going on. And so I'm like, I need to do something to get rid of this delay. So I switched to a 4-stroke. I still had my 250 at the time, but I tried a 4-stroke, and it's like, this is horrible. That engine braking. I would end up at a crawl around the corner. So I was just like, this isn't going to work. So I went back and was racing the 250 all the way up to the half, the summer break. So halfway through, and then I decided during summer break to go ahead and give it another try. So I did, and then I kind of worked with it and kept riding it, and then it became suit me, because once I got used to that engine braking, I could use it to my advantage, and it would buy me that little bit of time for me to move my foot off the peg or up on the peg so that I could hit that rear brake. And so it became something for me that that really helped in that whole braking scenario. Oh, here's my water breaking out. I'm taking that break. I get some water. But so from that perspective, really, I felt like it could take me kind of to that next level. The other thing is this is my gas. Is my practice bike, or had been anyway. And I never put the Recluse on it. I was really learning to ride with clutch that much better. And the one thing about 4-strokes, if you don't clutch it right, you're going to stall. And that was the other thing that in the beginning, when I first tried the 4-stroke, I was like, oh no, this is horrible, because I was stalling it left and right. But I got good with it. I really practiced with it, got comfortable with it. I even took this bike to the Colorado in the mountains and without a Recluse. And it worked well for me. I got really good with the clutch. And so I really thought, well, I'm going to just race it that way as well. And so I kind of thought that's how that would be. However, what I found out in racing without one is that without a Recluse, that is, that I still stall it. And the reason is just because of the heat of the moment. If you're battling it out with somebody, then you tend to, at least I do anyway, get distracted, and so then I would stall and crash. So I for this race, this bike that hasn't had a Recluse at all, finally got a Recluse put on it, and I really think that really helped me a lot, because I learned this bike without it, and then putting that on there, it just took that extra element out of the way. So all these things kind of came together along with all my training that I did to be ready for this race. So that was Isaiah that just went by me, and he's really good. He passes me. He'll get stuck at times, and he's on a big bike, and so when he gets stuck, he's kind of stuck for a little bit there until he can get it going. But I got to meet him for the first time. He had I'd seen him, and he'd passed me many times, but I never actually met him, and I got to meet his family. And the reason that happened was because of Michael Couch. I was on my way to Sunday morning to go eat breakfast, and I was going to get from one of the vendors, and he caught me, and he's like, are you getting ready to get some food? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, we actually have some leftover food, because he kind of will camp out with his family and some of the other people that kind of come together for these races. And so I got to go in there and meet them and have breakfast, and they were just wonderful. And that's one of the best things about this racing is just how close everybody kind of becomes. They call it a family, and it's very much like that. And they took me in without any reservations at all, and that was awesome. So anyway, I was happy to meet them and many other people, and thank Michael Couch for introducing me and let me meet all his friends. So here I'm back to it in that sandy section that I don't like, but we're doing good. We're not having any issues, and the flow is still there.
checker. One more.
I was really hoping that would be the checker, because then I would have won. And luckily I still go on to do that, but I didn't know that at this time. Like I said, I know I got fast guys behind me, and they start really going for it. They can catch me at some point here. So I was happy to be in this spot, but at the same time, obviously, always in the back of my mind is that they could come up any time. But I'm looking around. I don't see anybody from our group anyway. So I'm happy, and I'm gonna repeat exactly what I just did. Take this part cautiously, and then get back into that flow, and just really keep that same pace for the rest of this last lap. Look at this guy's stance. I mean, that is exactly how you want to be on a motorcycle. He is standing. He has got his elbows up and out. He's ready for anything that comes up, and that is exactly how you want to ride. In these kind of races. Oh, motocross. I mean, exactly. He probably comes from a motocross background, and he definitely has the form for it. But he may not. He may just have learned it from here, and it applies to both. It gives you the best chance of managing anything that comes up, and that is definitely the form that we all aspire to. You can see my posture. I'm standing a lot, but when the shadow shows me, my elbows are down. And I do fight with that a little bit. I try to remind myself to do it, but they will just slowly drop as time goes on, and I don't keep them up there as best as I should. But definitely the way that we should all be riding, in my mind anyway. So I think one of the other things that I think about is, here's that part where I'm sliding, my whole rear end was sliding out there the whole time I'm trying to brake and so I can get back around that area. But anyway, it was just the stamina for these races. People just probably don't appreciate it. There is a lot of skill involved with the bike, but it is an endurance event. And I come from a background of triathlons. I did them for 10 years, and I have felt better after some of those longer triathlons than I do after some of these races. It really takes its toll, and my heart rate's the same for both. I mean, I am 160s, 170s for an average triathlon race, just as I am on one of these races. So it's a true endurance event that people I don't know that unless you do it, you probably don't appreciate it. One of the other things that I kind of take from the triathlon endurance kind of training is something that we talk about, and it's candles. The more training that you put in, the more candles you get. And where that comes into play is on anything that's a long endurance race. If you've done the training, you got more candles, then you have more to burn. But what happens is that if you go too fast, you burn your candles too fast, or it's like that anyway. And if you burn them too fast, that means you go through them, and you've only got so many. And so once that happens, then you bonk. And I've done that in both triathlon as well as these kind of races. And or if you don't train enough, then you're going to go through. You're not going to have many candles. You're going to go through those and bonk. So learning to pace yourself is key, and something that I was able to apply from something that I've done before and bring to these races, because they are every bit as much of an endurance event as what I used to do in triathlons. so there goes Isaiah again. He stalled it, or maybe had a little slide out or something. Don't know, but there he is. He's getting that started. He'll probably come past me again. they tend to do that. So this is coming along good. I'm still going great. I'm happy with how I feel and the flow that's going. Kind of a little slower through that last section, but not too bad. So that was just beautiful. Of course, I think I look like that when I'm riding, but I know I don't. But yeah, I think at the beginning of our the rows that go, we have amateurs and novice and the bees, and I'm sure that's one of those guys. They're kind of starting to come and lap us at this point. So you'll see a couple of them kind of come through. So here's that point again. That's where I always go and get my drink, and so I'm doing that now, and kind of refresh for this last little bit that we got to go to finish up the course. So you can see there how easy it is to do. I didn't do it, but I almost cut that tree. I went around it just like I'm supposed to, but it was close. And for a split second, I was just zoning out and almost did it. And the other thing to mention, so the workers that were out there, he just let me know I could go ahead and go to this hill, and thank God I was able to do that every lap, because if I couldn't go up this hill every lap, then you have to take the alternate route. And the reason you have to do that is if someone has crashed up there, and there's just it's just not safe for more people to keep coming, because they're trying to make clean the area, kind of get that cleared up. And so, but if you were forced to go the other way, that was going to be a hardship, because that added about 40 seconds onto it compared to if you're able just to go up over the hill. Now, at the same time, if you crash on that hill or stall or don't get up it, well, you're going to spend a lot more time than that 40 seconds. So some people probably didn't take it, I'm sure, because they just didn't want to risk that. But I was happy that every time I came through, I was able to do it. I just would have been in a world of hurt had I been asked to have to go around the other way. So, but I sure appreciate all the people that were out there making this thing happen. They all wonderful and helping everybody and clapping. This is a long day for the workers, and they're still sitting there clapping for you as you go around, even during this lap. So it's great, and I'm working my next race, so I hope to bring that same kind of energy energy and do as well as these guys did out here. So how about this GoPro? This is a GoPro Hero 11, and this battery is going to end up lasting a hair over 1 hour and 45 minutes. That's amazing to me. If I'm in at an hour and a half, I know I always get everything. But if I'm going beyond that, then I always wonder if it's going to cut out. And so far, it's got almost all of it. It is going to cut out here in a little bit. It's going to cut out just short of me coming across the finish line, but you can tell I'm right there at the finish line when it happens. So that's pretty amazing that it did that. But yeah, I'm really happy with this race and how everything went. And this is my last race of the season here, and so I'm going to bring home a win finally this season. I didn't have any. I've had some thirds. I've had to have a second. But this is my first win, and I really did train a lot to be able to do it, and so happy that it paid off. And just really racing with a bunch of great guys, and look forward to continuing to do more.